What's the date today?
September 29. Yep.
29th, and that's 2020.
Yeah.
So today's Tuesday, right? So we got a webinar in 48 hours. So I'm going to actually maybe play this webinar. Is that all right? That I show you a picture on that?
That's fine.
Okay, so you want to say your first name so everybody knows?
Juan.
Okay, so Juan's doing some work for me with design and some stuff, and we don't need to do any more on that. So tell me which finger what did you say you're spending? How much on medication?
$5,000 a month. So I take 2 shots a month. Every 2 weeks, I take a shot. Each one of those shots is $2,500
So it's $5,000 a month.
a month.
For arthritis. So Deanna, keep the video going here for a second. I just don't change the angle. I just want to see how the lighting is and everything. Okay, cool. All right. So $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year in just medication for your arthritis.
That's correct.
What's the official diagnosis? Degenerative joint or
I can't remember exactly what it's called, but
rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis?
I think it's osteo.
Osteo.
So it's essentially inflammatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So so you have problems with your ankles, your knees, everything else, right?
Right. It kind of started off with my knees. It went to my ankles, and then it started migrating all over my body. It was in my hips. It was in my neck. It became hard to swallow. I was walking with a cane. I was only 42, and I was walking with a cane like I was an old man. The stuff they put me on was prednisone. I was on it for so long, I kept developing these horrible infections, and it was weakening my immune system. Ended up with staph infection, and MRSA was in a hospital.
You had MRSA?
Yeah, just from taking that because it weakened my immune system.
The prednisone's terrible. So it's important. You're not my patient. I've met you a couple of times. You're doing some work, real estate for me. And so, yeah, you can probably come closer now so you can see his hands. And so Juan, tell me, you told me before which we know it's affecting your whole body. And I told you that this is not going to fix the problem, but it's going to take your pain away. And it's part of our program, but to really get the program straight, you'd have to get the heavy metals removed. You have to get your gut straightened. The gut's the biggest place we got to start. And the story of Morgan, I told you, which is in the book, The 9 Steps to Keep the Doctor Away, she had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. So it's the same type of thing. But right now, to demonstrate the power of what is possible, I'm going to take your pain away. We're going to see how fast it happens, all right?
Okay.
So of your finger, I said, where's the worst pain in your body right now?
I'm an engineer, so I use my hands all the time. And so I really get a lot of pain in my knuckles. Okay. And I would say right now, like this hand is, and that particular finger is hurting the most. Okay. But I can't say it's like just one. They all hurt, but that one right now hurts the most.
So I'm going to put this on. I'm not going to say what it is. The people that'll be watching this video on the IADFW, they'll know what it is. But because, the 3 other agencies would come in and say this is a problem, blah, 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 because we're making a claim. We're not making any claim. I'm just going to have you tell me what it does, all right?
Okay.
So we're going to put this on here, and just go ahead and rub that into your finger. Just go ahead and rub that in with the other hand. And I don't know, you have a cell phone with you right now?
I do.
I was going to say we can start the timer and just see.
I'm counting here.
Okay. And even with the shots, when you were taking the shots, did you have improvement in that knuckle, or can you?
Some. It reduced the pain to the point it was tolerable, but it was still a constant pain. I mean, for instance, that finger right there is crooked like that, and it never isn't like that. It's no matter how much medication I take, there's fluid inside of that knuckle.
So there are joints that people have had that within a couple of months they get the deformity back. It goes away. The joint comes back. Again, we can't make that claim, and we never have made that claim, but we have seen joints come back in line. Now, it's remodeling. So I'm just curious. Now, if I ask you which is the worst joint in your hand right now, can you come closer and look at his face?
That,
Get close to him because he's going to start crying, and there's a reason. It always happens.
wow. That's amazing. That is amazing. Whew. It doesn't hurt.
No.
It's not hurting.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Aren't you glad you didn't make that bet with me? Because if you made that bet with me.
Oh my God, man. What is that? That is, I don't feel the pain. I do not feel the pain.
And it's going to come back in a couple hours. It'll come back slowly, but the beautiful thing is you can use as much of this as you want. It's that easy.
Oh my God, that's
And
crazy.
I'll tell you what. You know what this bottle costs? It's not $5,000 a month. It's not even $500 a month. You know, it's less than $100 a month. And what you'll find is that the longer you use it, the less you need it. There's a marketing guy that told me 16 years ago. He said this product sucks, and I was like, why? I know how well it works. He said, because after 3 months, nobody needs it anymore. So that's what he told me.
So it only happened 1 minute, by the way.
Yeah. Usually, so we did a study back almost 20 years ago, and it was only myself and Dr. Clarence Norris, two doctors, two of us. We just carried a bottle in our lab coats. And whenever we had somebody that had joint pain, you know, we'd ask them the question. If it wasn't, it's okay, man. You can let it out. If you, we just carried it in our lab coats, and every time somebody said they have a point, no, we had to make sure it was joint, because if it wasn't joint related, it's not going to work. Like muscle aches, you know, people say, well, my neck hurts, well, it's not going to work on muscle. It's only joint. And we would put it on, and we had a 99.3% out of 100 people, less than one. So out of 1,000 people, only in 7 people it wouldn't work. Once you eliminated the people that actually had muscle pain, because you know about 10% of the people would say, well, you know, I'm not sure, it's tendinosynovitis, but it's actually a muscle strain or a tendon strain, and it'll even sometimes help with that, but it's really meant for joints, and it's unbelievable. There's never been a joint. I'll tell you the most dramatic thing. This is when I need this work. I was still an ER doc. The last ER shift I worked in was in 1999, 3 days before my son was born. My son was born, Avi was born on January 25th, 1999. My last ER shift was in January 22nd, 1999. My birthday was January 20th. I just worked 2 more days after that. And I didn't work another ER shift after that. So this was before 1999. I think it was probably like 1997, 1998. But it was an ER shift, Richmond Memorial Hospital, Rockingham. I had a guy that was a soldier, was retired from the military, was a parachuter, but was part of the 82nd Airborne. Jumped out of a plane. His chute didn't open. He broke his back. He survived the fall, broke his back and so many ribs and all this stuff. He was always in pain. He comes in the ER. He had standing orders for Demerol, Phenergan, Robaxin, Stadol, all these drugs. They were all for his pain. You don't get Demerol normally, right? But this guy was hooked on Demerol and all this stuff because of his broken back and all this stuff. For 10 years, he had standing orders when he came in. So he came in, and the lady, his wife, was crying, and she said, you know, it never works. They give him the stuff. He gets drugged out of his mind. He doesn't know, you know, he can't even stand up properly, but he's always in pain. Even with the medication, he's in pain. So I had the original version of this with me in my briefcase. My partner and I had been messing around. It was supposed to be a female hormonal imbalance thing, okay? It wasn't supposed to be for arthritis. But he's about 20 years older than me. He's like in his mid-70s. And he would be up to his elbows working with this stuff, with these herbs. And so it worked in about half the hormonal issues. But the funny thing was, he had some joint issues. And he goes, you know, my joints don't hurt anymore. So we were like, well, so we changed it around. So at that time, I took this stuff. I put this on the guy's back, on his lower back. It took, you know, quite a bit. I put it in his back, and I said, I'll be back in 5 minutes. So I walk out, just want to see if it worked on it. Because I knew it was working in small things. I walk out, and we had a trauma that came in. A car accident with 3 people that got hurt real bad. So I got tied up with that, and then the ER got really busy. And so, you know, it's like 7-8 hours later. Now when the guy came in to the ER, it was empty. So it was a pretty busy ER, but it was totally empty. So we put him in one of the back rooms. Well, the nurse had forgotten to write his name on the board, you know, to show the patient. So now we got a busy ER, we got all these different people, and now another 8 hours goes by, and now the ER is starting to slow down, and I'm kicked back, and suddenly I remember this patient, and I'm like, who discharged the patient, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, no, I didn't, and none of the nurses remembered, and they're like, what are you talking about? Oh my God. I'm like, nobody discharged. He's still there. Nobody put his name, you know, his name was ready. I go running back there. I'm embarrassed, like, I don't know. And his wife's coming out of the curtain. I thought she's going to go off of me. You know, I've been waiting 8 hours, and she's like, shh, shh, shh. I'm like, what? And she says, I'm like, I'm sorry, so sorry. She goes, no, this is the best sleep. He hasn't slept uninterrupted for years. She goes, usually he's up within 30 minutes, an hour. He's unrested. She goes, I don't know what the hell that is, but he's sleeping. So we walk in there, and he kind of, he's a little groggy, and wakes up, and he's like, what are we doing in the ER? He didn't even remember coming to the ER. And then he hugs his wife, and he says, babe, my back's not hurting. And she says, what do you mean your back's not hurting? Because she was just so concerned he was sleeping. And he goes, seriously, my back? And he literally in mid-sentence, my back's not, and just broke down crying. Because pain, when you have it constantly, it's a huge thing. And so that's when I knew that this stuff was going to change the world. And
you just don't realize how much pain beats your spirit down to every minute of every day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep at night, that you're in constant pain. It's terrible. I wouldn't wish anything like this on my worst enemy. But that is just crazy. That is crazy.
so how many, on a scale of 1 to 10, that was your worst? That's why I always pick the worst finger. And I don't do it everywhere in the first demonstration. I mean, you can use it anywhere, but you know, to make sure, because most people don't believe it. So that's when I started saying, okay, I'm going to go to the worst hand, or worst ankle, or worst, knee, or whichever. They always got to pick the worst one for me. And it's best when it's fingers or toes, because now they got 10 to select from.
Right.
So I said, pick the worst one, because now of all your fingers, which feels the best?
This one definitely feels the best.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. When I'm at a computer, I'm typing with this constantly. So this hand hurts the most.
Right. And this is the thing, that this is what our medical system, this is what the political system right now, they don't want stuff like this. They want the $5,000 drug to go in there that doesn't do a damn thing, but ruins your kidneys, ruins your immune system, and thing that's natural, that's going to actually make a difference in your life. And this was actually registered with the FDA for the first 10 years. It had a national drug code assigned to it. Nobody's making any claims. People were saying how great they worked, but it was because it was getting on the radar of Big Pharma, and they didn't want competition, because this thing would put Humira out of business.
Yeah.
It put any of those kind of drugs out of business. I mean, overnight, if people could experience it, right? So this is the way, my goal is to change the way medicine's practiced. So what you experience right now is what many people have experienced over the last quarter of a century, from 93 countries that come in, not as fast, maybe, somebody's got cancer, we can't take it away that fast, or autism, you can't take it. Sometimes it takes months, years. But certain things, like with joints, it's literally, and we have things that can take. I have a treatment that I do for people having breathing problems, that can't breathe, that have COPD, that have emphysema, that have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, reactive airway, exercise-induced asthma, any kind of asthma. And in 2 minutes, minute and a half, I can have them breathing better. And, we've done this on video before, and it's so emotional, because again, when you take pain away, you allow a person to start breathing again, that's how fast it can work. So anyway, I'm glad I thought about videotaping it. And again,